The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
Chicken head, chicken feet, chicken necks is all I eat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Bucket Full of Chicken Necks. I'm your host, Vince Russo. It is Wednesday, November 4th, 2015. Before we get started, a little word from our sponsors, kayfabecommentaries.com, the best shoot DVDs out on the market. They got a new product out. They sent me new copy, and I'm going to read it now for you. Sometimes it seems as if the uncensored, unapologetic series you shoot were made solely for a particular guest. One could make that case this week as Scott Hall sits down in the hot seat at last. Scott tackles all your questions ranging from his exploits with drink and drugs to the click to his storied in-ring career and so much more. Play the You Shoot games with another totally open and honest guest on this shoot series that changed them all. The You Shoot games are here, of course, as Scott ventures into the random wrestler's gym bag for what's in the bag and the virtual ruler in the unsheath for the clicks dicks. Fun for the whole family, maybe the Manson family. The clicks dicks. I can't believe I just said this in this commercial, Mr. Sean Oliver. But now you've got me interested in the clicks dicks, even though that doesn't sound too well coming out of my mouth. Your videos and questions, as always, are the real star of the show. So, hey, yo, say hello to the bad guy. And yes, there's an entire chapter on Scarface. All on You Shoot, Scott Hall, You Shoot, uncensored, expletive. Sean, you can't give me these big words to use in these reads because I'm an idiot from Brooklyn. I don't know these big words you're giving me over here. You're much more intelligent than me. We get that. And everything that should be. From Kayfabe Commentaries, our shoots are not shareholder approved. Listen, guys. Last week, I told you about Kevin Nash. This week, Kayfabe Commentaries and Scott Hall and Sean Oliver, the interview, have Scott Hall. Could you get any more back-to-back controversial interviews? And keep in mind, these are not WWE interviews, so they're not going to be slanted to tell a WWE story. This is going to be about Scott Hall's life. As Sean said, they delve into the problems he had, with drugs and drink, which should be interesting. The clicks dicks, what's in the bag. But again, these are the best shoot interviews in the market, and I mean that. And I'm proud to say I've done about 4 of them with Kayfabe Commentaries. So please check them out, kayfabecommentaries.com. Also, I want to take care of one other piece of business too. A lot of you out there are on manual renewal because you don't like the idea of your credit card being charged over and over again. And I get that. I'm kind of an auto renewal guy because like every month I don't want to keep having to go back in to manually renew, like a Netflix and things like this. But if you're a manual subscriber, I just want to remind you to renew the membership. And you really want to do it now because coming up in the next couple of weeks, we got a big 2-part interview with China. It's a follow-up from the last one. The last one was the most popular one I ever did. This one, we're going to follow up about, her documentary, the drive to get in the WWE Hall of Fame, what really happened at Roddy Piper's funeral. We are going to talk about a lot of these incidents that she hasn't discussed before. So please, if you haven't renewed your membership, please do. You're not going to want to miss this interview. A lot of things I want to talk about today. And also, I put out a tweet earlier in the day where I'm going to answer some of your questions as I get towards the end of the show. But a lot of things I want to discuss this week. Some things are some interesting things. I also want to say, for those of you watching, I know the first 10 minutes of this show are free. I'm pushing to 30,000 Twitter followers, which I'm really proud of. If you don't follow me on Twitter, please do. My address is @the Vince Russo. And listen, I usually answer everybody's tweets. If you usually ask me to follow you, I usually follow you. The only thing I don't stand for is the personal insults. I'll be honest with you. Whenever I get a personal insult, you're just going to be deleted. It's that easy. But I'm pushing to 30K. I love interacting with the members of this show and people that listen to this show. I like to make myself accessible. I'm no better than anybody else. I love talking to, I hate using the word the fans. I just hate that. I love talking to you about, whatever topics you want to discuss. So again, if you don't follow me at Twitter, it's at the Vince Russo. I'm pushing the 30K. I don't buy followers. I don't believe in that. They're all genuine, legitimate followers. Listen, WWE was in Denver a couple of nights ago. And I told you I was trying to get tickets for my boy Randy at Kroger's, who hooks me up with not Kroger's, it's King Super. Yeah, I always get confused. King Super and Kroger's are the same store. I think in Atlanta we had Kroger's. Here in Colorado it's King Super's. It's the same thing. Anyway, every time I go to King Super's, Randy hooks me up with piping hot fried chicken. That's a free endorsement for King Super's, by the way. They're not even paying me for that. But you got to make sure you get the chicken hot. Don't get the chicken that's been staying there for over an hour. We had that conversation last week. But Randy had 2 kids, and I wanted to get tickets for him and his kids to go to Monday Night Raw. And I told you how ridiculous it was as far as I was concerned that Vince Russo cannot call in and get tickets to a show. To me, it's just ludicrous and it's ridiculous. I went through a friend inside of WWE. I'm not going to say who that is. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I do want to say the friend of mine got the tickets. Randy was hooked up. And I thank this individual publicly from the bottom of my heart. Randy and his kids had a great time. Listen, when you go to the WWE event, especially with kids, it's a fun time. You have a fun time. There's no question about that. It's a great experience for the family. Randy wore the I'm a Vince Russo guy shirt. I question that. I didn't want Randy to get assassinated, inside the Pepsi Center. But he wore the shirt. He made it through the day. I'm also going to say this. I housed a WWE employee Sunday night and Monday night while they were in town. I'm not going to say who it was, but I was happy to have their company. I spent a couple of days with them. I'm going to become clean here with you, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I wish all this foolishness would end. Between myself and the WWE, it's childish. It's child's play. They did so many things similar with so many other people. Bruno Sammartino, Savage comes to mind, the Ultimate Warrior, where, they just bury people for, whatever, 10 years. In Bruno's case, it was probably longer. And then all of a sudden, open arms, oh, you're in the family, yada, yada, yada. That is such childish, immature bullshit. And here's the fact of the matter, that people need to understand. I'm not employed by the WWE. The WWE does not pay me. Vince Russo needs to make a living. I make a living through the brand. When people pay me to subscribe to the brand, I am obligated to tell them the truth and tell them how I really feel. And, I'm a critic. I'm a critic and I'm an entertainer. That's what I do. If people at the WWE can't take criticism and take criticism personally, well, then I guess my situation with them will never end. But, as I said, at the end of the day, this is how I make a living, to tell the truth, to critique the show. I've put it over when it's good, but I don't put it over when it's not good. That's how I make my living. But I just really think it's unfortunate. They were in Pepsi Center, and I can't go anywhere near the building. I can't say hello to people I used to work with. That sucks, man. I don't know in any other type of business where that would take place. And I really, really, really wish it wasn't that way. That's part of the reason why I reached out to Vince McMahon if I could help him in any way. And for you Nimrods and numbnuts, whatever you call yourselves out there, that look at that as me begging for a job. Sometimes I really can't believe people are that ignorant. Do you really think I'm going to sit here and criticize the product and criticize some of Vince McMahon's creative if I'm actually begging for a job to get back to the WWE? Do you really think that that's the way I would go about it if I was looking to be employed? I extended the olive branch because I felt it was the right thing to do. I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to be part of the problem. It has nothing to do with me begging for a job or wanting a job or any of that bullshit that you idiots concoct in your own little freaking feeble brains. Trust me, if I was looking for a job at the WWE, I wouldn't be critical of that product. That would be the wrong approach. And I got to tell you something. This kind of ties in with that. I interviewed Shelly Martinez yesterday, and if you know Shelly, she was in the WWE, she was in TNA. She's such a free-spirited, beautiful person, very spiritual person. I think Shelly Martinez is misunderstood. I think she's on a different level than a lot of other people. She's very spiritual, but Shelly has a way of really saying things like very simply that really, really hit home. And she pointed something out to me yesterday. And I mean, it's as simple as this. And when you think about it, it's like, wow, if you look at things in this simple way, it can really make a lot of sense to all of us and really help us all. But, Shelly turned around to me yesterday, and the interview is going to be on Vixens Who Rule, in a couple of weeks or whatever. But Shelly says, you know what, Vince, we all die. And one day we're all going to be dead. And as bizarre and dark as that may seem, like that is the absolute truth. So with that being said, if that is in the back of your mind when you live life every single day, first of all, as it applies to you, you're going to be dead one day. You're not going to be here one day. So a miserable day that you're having is just going to be a wasted day. The hatred you feel towards another human being is going to be another wasted day. Being in a bad mood, being depressed, these are all wasted days of the time when you're here. Because one of these days you're not going to be here. And also that sheds a light on how you treat other people. Those people are not going to be here one day. A lot of people, listen, I had a talk show approach me the other day and basically saying to me, Vince, we want you to come on our show. Our audience is salivating, wanting you to, basically bury Jim Cornette. And quite frankly, that's why I don't. Jim Cornette is going to die one day. He's not going to be here. And I don't want to have on my conscience that I said bad things about this guy and I buried this guy. I don't want to do that. And we should all, as simple as that is, we should all think about that when we criticize somebody else, when we bury other people, when we tear people down. Listen, I know I get a lot of it every single week. People that don't even know me, don't know my family, don't know anything about me. But the fact of the matter is, if you put it as simple as Shelly Martinez, we're all going to die. And, why would we waste the time that we have here, and we don't know how long it'll be, on negative energy? Like, it just makes absolutely zero sense. And I want to make one thing perfectly clear about my show here. And if you go to my Facebook, if you go to my Twitter, you will clearly see I call myself an entertainer. So when I go off on a tangent and when I go off on a rant, quite frankly, that is part of me trying to entertain you, trying to give you your money's worth. A lot of those things I really don't care about when push comes to shove. When I'm in the heat of the moment, you'll get how I really feel. But like once the show is over, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't stay with me. And quite frankly, I don't really care. Life's too short to just have any kind of negative energy. And listen, I want to thank Shelly for making it that simple for me, but it's something we all should remember. I got a couple other topics I want to discuss. I want to talk about here before I get to your questions. Man, I got to tell you, I've been lately at night. My diet is so freaking screwed up because I get up like at about 6 in the morning, and I'm usually good. Like I'll have a good breakfast, sound breakfast. I'll have a good sound lunch. I'll have a good sound dinner. Okay. But here's the problem. I stay up late, even though I get up at 6. I'm up watching TV probably till 1 or 2 in the morning. And that's when I get hungry and I wind up eating right before I fall asleep, and I wake up in the morning and I feel like a garbage dump is in my gut, and my gut feels so heavy and I feel so sick, and I got to get out of this freaking habit. I got to stop eating at 6 o'clock. Yesterday, I was watching TV. It was getting late. I knew my daughter, Annie, was on her way home, and I called her up, and I asked her she'd bring home some Chinese food and a movie, which she did, and I was very, very grateful for. I ate lo mein. I fell asleep a couple of hours later. I woke up this morning. I just wanted to kill myself. I need to get out of this house. If anybody has any tricks to how to not eat after 6 o'clock, I try to drink a lot of water. That doesn't do the trick. If there's something I could eat that's going to fill me and not kill me, let me know. I'm interested to hear it. I want to say, something about Annie, though, to be honest with you. A lot of times I come on here and I tell stories, and the stories are entertaining and the stories are funny. I haven't had as many stories as I've had, in the past, basically because she's back at school. She's not at home as much as she used to be. During the summer, she was home every day. So there was something to talk about every day. I don't get to see her that much now. We kind of pass in the night like ships. That's why the stories have lacked. But I also want to say this, man. The passing of Bill DeMott's daughter really, really affected me. I mean, really, really affected me. There were so many similarities between me and Annie and Bill and his daughter, Kerry. She was the same age as Annie. She was just out driving at night. A lot of times with Annie, she works late. She's coming back from school. She stays there and studies late. She's always driving late. I can't get to sleep until she's in the house. I'm worried. I worry sick about her. And when I heard this news about Bill's daughter, I mean, I just knew how easy, it could have been her. And it just, it really, 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 really affected me. Listen, there was never, ever, ever any real heat between me and my daughter ever. It's a father and a daughter. It's a little sense of entitlement and old school. It's different generations. It's discipline. It's rules. It's all those things, but it doesn't take away one iota, how much I love her and how much I love my entire family. And, that's why, man, I think of Bill every day. I'm so glad he's back on the brand. I haven't had a chance to personally talk to him yet. I don't know if he's ready to talk, to be honest with you. But we email each other back and forth, and it really affected me. But with that being said, I'm gonna rip my father to shreds now. I'm gonna absolutely rip my father to shreds. My father's 84 years old. He lives in Ocala, Florida. And I told you, my mother has Alzheimer's disease. And this Alzheimer's disease isn't getting any better. And I told my father, listen, of course I love my mother to death, but he's 84 and he's trying to take care of her, 24 hours a day. And it's getting to the point that he can't do it anymore. And I'm trying to break the news to him gently that, bro, you got to think about, a time is going to come where you're going to have to put her in a home because you just can't take care of her anymore. You're not capable of taking care of it anymore. And you also have to think about what's going to happen. God forbid, if something happens to you, who's going to take care of her? You got to start thinking about these things. Well, my father's measuring stick is, as long as she remembers who I am and she knows who I am, I'm not going to think about, putting her in a home. She's going to stay here with me, and I'm going to take care of her. And then he goes through me. Oh, man, I took vows and this, that, and the other thing. All right, I get it. So now the dividing line is whether or not she remembers him. Keep that in mind. As long as she remembers his name is Jimmy, she gets to stay in the house. But let me tell you the things Jimmy does that drives me absolutely crazy. Keep in mind, he's dealing with a woman who has Alzheimer's. If you know anything about Alzheimer's, there's a great special on, man. I think it's on Netflix now, Glenn Campbell. And if you really want to learn about Alzheimer's, and what it entails and what the individual goes through, watch that on Netflix. It's absolutely phenomenal. But if somebody has Alzheimer's disease, there's no rationalizing with them. Like they don't understand. So you can't have a sensible conversation with them because their sensibility is not the same. So you can't have a rational discussion with them. Well, the problem with my father is he still tries to have rational discussions, with my mother. And I'll give you a perfect example of some of the things that he does. He came home from, I'll start with the least and then I'll work my way up. It's something as simple as this. My mother also suffers from diabetes. So my father has to watch what he feeds her. He's got to take her blood. Anybody who has diabetes knows how that goes. So this is like how my father's brain works. He's 84 years old. He's so excited to go play softball. He plays softball on Mondays and Wednesdays, and he gets together with the boy. He's 84 years old. He's still getting together with the boys at Piggly Wiggly's every Saturday morning. These are the things that he lives for. So he's so excited to go to his game that he goes to the game, and what does he do? He leaves jelly donuts out on the counter. Now, my mother is a diabetic. She's not supposed to be eating any of that stuff. Nothing. But what my father does is when he feels my mother doesn't eat enough for breakfast, for dinner, and he worries about her not having enough to eat, he'll give her a treat. Like I give Yogi treats. He gives my mother treats. He'll give her a Hershey bar, or he'll give her a piece of pound cake, or he'll always have something sweet in the house, which boggles my mind because she's a diabetic. She's not supposed to have any of that stuff. So he's so excited about going to play ball that he goes out, and what does he do? He leaves 4 jelly donuts on the counter, okay? So my mother, who supposedly can't get around and has to use a walker to go from her chair to the kitchen, which is 20 feet. My father comes home, the jelly donuts are gone. So now he's worried sick. He knows her blood is going to go up. She's a diabetic. The fact of the matter is he left the jelly donuts on the counter. Nobody else did. So now he says to my mother, where are the jelly donuts? He starts arguing with her. My mother's telling my father the woman ate the jelly donuts. Now, there's no woman. There's nobody coming in to take care of my mother. There's the 2 of them in the house. There's no pets. There's nothing in the house. And my father's sitting there with her, and he's arguing with her. What woman? What woman are you talking about? Who came and ate the jelly donuts when my mother clearly ate the jelly donuts? She probably had jelly on her face. Yeah, knowing her, and he still didn't get the clue, and he's there arguing with her. Okay. So the next day when he goes to play ball, he comes home. The entire bathroom is flooded. Okay. It's so bad that it's seeping now into the carpet in the living room, in the bedroom, because the bathroom is off the bedroom. So now he comes in. There's water all over the place. He asks my mother, what happened? What happened with this water? How'd this water get everywhere? My mother's standing there telling him the woman put on the shower. The woman turned the shower on. He goes through the whole thing with her again. What woman? What woman are you talking about? When does this woman come to the house? Where does this woman leave? Meanwhile, there's no woman. He knows there's no woman, and he's still trying to have a sensible conversation. This one takes the cake, though. Listen, you got to understand, they live in Florida. I'm here in Colorado. These are the conversations I have every single day with them. So now he goes on Friday to Piggly Wiggly. You got to understand with my mother, every day it's an ailment. She has not woken up feeling good in the morning for the last, I'm not kidding you, she's 81. The last time she woke up feeling good in the morning, she was probably in her 30s. There's always something wrong with her. She's a hypochondriac. Thank you very much for giving me that disease, because now I'm a hypochondriac as I get older. So he comes home from Piggly Wiggly the other day, and, you know, she's sitting in the chair, and he could tell something's wrong. He tells something's wrong. She's telling him, my eye hurts because a fly flew in my eye, and I think there's a fly in my eye. Now, think about that for a second, guys. Think about, first of all, you know, like once every 20 years, a fly flies in your mouth, you know, and when your mouth is open, it's a lot bigger than the eye, you know, compared to this. Okay, so think about the odds of a fly flying in your house, flying in your eye while you're sitting in your house. Okay, so think about the odds of a fly flying in your eye while you're sitting in the house and still being stuck in your eye. Like, if a fly flies in my eye, like, where is this fly housing itself? Like, I don't, like, on top of my, I don't know. So she tells him, a fly flew in my eye. I think it's still in there. What does he do? He takes her to the doctor, so the doctor can look at her eye and see if there's a fly in her eye. And he's telling me this, and I'm like, oh, you're just, not only are you just as bad as she is, you are worse than she's. As a matter of fact, I think you need to be put in a home. You know, it's one thing to have Alzheimer's disease and think that a fly flew in my eye and a fly is still in my eye. It's another thing to be perfectly normal and take the person with the fly stuck in their eye to a doctor. So this is what I go through every single day. It's the latest adventure of, okay, what did mom do today, and how did you react to what you did? So that has kind of replaced the ongoing feuds with Annie. Of course, you know, till there's going to be break here. She's going to be done with the fall semester, going into the spring semester, not too far away. Okay, there's another things I want to talk to you about. Let's see. Oh, if you were listening to the show the other day, one of our shows I do with Jeff was talking about that one girl that he used to like, that he used to work with. He asked her out, and she kind of blew him off, yada, yada, yada. I said to him, you need to Facebook her again, but there was a certain amount of time. There's the Chinese food. You couldn't Facebook her right away. The whole thing. Anyway, Jeff sent her the show. The girl responded to Jeff's sending her the show. She sent them a little a text message. He sent it to me. I got to see her picture. A lovely girl. And Jeff Lane's got a set of balls. I'm going to tell you right now. You don't know Jeff like I know Jeff. Jeff's got a set of balls. Jeff basically tried to convince her she needs to come on the show with me so I can interview her. She bit at the bait. She took the hook. She's thinking about it now. So we're working on that. We're trying to get the girl that blew Jeff off on the show so I could find out exactly what the problem with Jeff is, why we can't get Jeff hooked up, what the hell's going on. I think Jeff's been working out. He's not telling me the truth, but he looks a little more buff lately. I think he's getting to the gym. I think Jeff is a good-looking guy. Maybe we can get him to lose the hat. I think that's something we're going to have to work on. I think the hat is like the Linus security blanket, but the fact of the matter is the girl answered. There was a bite. We're trying to get her on the show. We'll see what happens. I want to incorporate something into the show today. a lot of people, I love music and I love my albums and I love my record collection. I got Band on the Run yesterday on vinyl, perfect condition for 75 cents. I thought it was Christmas morning. But a lot of people ask me, Vince, why don't you, show us some of your albums or start going over some stuff with you? And I said, you know what, that's not a bad idea, because I've said it. I don't listen. Anybody that watched Monday's show, I don't know what I'm supposed to come on here and talk about. Like, what am I supposed to talk about from Monday's show that I can spend 30 minutes with you or 40 minutes or whatever it is? I don't know. I don't know what I would take away from those 3 hours and try to turn into a conversation. So I'm going to do that today. And I talked about this the other day. One of my all-time favorite albums. I'm going to tell you a couple interesting things about this and a little background on myself. I'm going to start with the background first. I had a friend that I grew up with. We were very, 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 very close. My best friend in the world. Nobody ever came close to what this person meant in my life. As a matter of fact, this individual passed away suddenly of a heart attack 8 years ago. And he was the main reason why I came out to Colorado. I had been talking about moving to Colorado since I was 22 years old. And then one day, 8 years ago, my friend was, 46 at the time, in perfect health, died of a heart attack on the spot, dead. At that point, I realized I'm tired of talking about the things I want to do, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. It goes back to what Shelly Martinez said. We're all going to die. And I'm like, I've been talking about moving to Colorado for over 20 years. Finally, I upped my family and we moved to Colorado. But this individual's his name was Jeff Iorio. He had a huge influence on my life. I've never been as close with anybody as I was with him. There has been a huge void in my life since he's passed away. Huge void, huge hole. A day doesn't go by where I don't think about him. I have not been the same person. They say that time heals all wounds. It has not healed it, not one iota. I can't tell you how much I miss this guy. The reason I'm giving you that backstory is Jeff Iorio was the biggest Elvis Presley mark on the planet Earth. He absolutely idolized Elvis Presley. He idolized Elvis Presley to the point of, I can remember, we must have been in like 8th grade or something like that, but he would literally put on talent shows in our school. He would be Elvis. He had costumes made and everything. Keep in mind, he was Puerto Rican. Just so you know, don't let Iorio, the name, throw you off. His father was a full-blooded Italian. His mother was a full-blooded Puerto Rican. So Jeff was Puerto Rican. So he was the Puerto Rican Elvis. So he would give concerts at school. I would have to be his Colonel Tom Parker. I'm not kidding you. I would have to wear a suit. I would go out when he was done with every song. I'd give him the whatever it was, the handkerchief to wipe off his head. He'd throw the handkerchief to the girls. So he worked me in the routine. When Elvis Presley passed away, Jeff went into such mourning. It was, I've never seen anybody mourn another person the way he mourned Elvis. He made me wear an armband on right around my bicep. I had to wear an armband to school for an entire week because Jeff was mourning Elvis and I had to support Jeff. He wouldn't come out of his room. He wouldn't talk to anybody. It was bad. I'm not working you. It was bad. So how this story relates is soon after that, an artist from Britain hit the U.S. scene, and his name was Elvis Costello. Now, if you know me, when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to music, when it comes to entertainers, when it comes to athletes, what stands out to me is somebody who's different, absolutely different. And Elvis Costello, when he came out in 1977, his first album was My Aim Is True. He looked different. He looked like a geek. He wore, the jacket and the tie, had a punk hairdo, black rim glasses. He really had a unique look for the time. And then when you heard him sing, this is my my measuring stick of when somebody's a star. When nobody else sounds like them. When nobody else sounds like you, you are a star. When you hear Freddie Mercury on the radio, you know it's Freddie Mercury. When you hear Steve Perry, you know it's Steve Perry. When you hear Frank Sinatra, you know it's Frank Sinatra. When you hear Elvis Costello, you know it's Elvis Costello. Nobody in the world sounds like him. So I saw the look now. I heard the music, and I wanted to buy the album. The only problem was the fact that he was Elvis Costello, and Jeff was like just ridiculous over Elvis Presley. Right off the bat, Jeff hated him. Jeff hated him because his name was Elvis. He was ripping off Elvis. He was ripping off the king. And I don't want to have anything to do with it. Meanwhile, I wanted to buy the guy's album. The first album I wanted to buy. So the fact of the matter is I had to go behind Jeff Iorio's back to buy Elvis Costello's first album, My Aim Is True, 1977. I was 16 years old, and immediately I fell in love with Elvis Costello. Okay. Next album, this year's model, third album is right here. It's Elvis Costello, Armed Forces. I'm going to tell you something interesting about this album. When you hear about Elvis Costello's third album, Armed Forces, you usually see this as the album cover. However, in the traditional album where it opens up here and there's the album, this is on the main side. So a lot of times when you're looking for Armed Forces, you'll get this, you'll get the elephants. But the fact of the matter is when it came out, this was the album. This came out 1979, 2 years after the first one. One of my favorite all-time albums. I mean, just some really, really great songs. You need to listen to it. You need to tell me what you think. But this is what I mean about the old school music. You can go listen to Elvis Costello. 1977 was his first album. Who touches him in 2015? Who touches that kind of music in 2015? You got these idiots. You got the Kanye West and the Chris Browns and the Jay-Z. Give me a break here. You want music here? 1977, Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Armed Forces. All right. A couple other things on entertainment. First of all, Uncle Putz, thank you for letting us know that Joe is available on DVD. We were talking about that with Razor Fist, me and Jeff. It is available on DVD. I watched the movie last night. I want you guys to watch it. It just came out on the Red Box. It's called The Gift, and Jason Bateman is in The Gift. I want you to watch it for a reason. There's a couple swerves in the movie, which I really like. I like the swerves, but I'll be honest with you. Being a swerve writer and the king of the swerves, I saw the swerves coming. But there's an interesting finish where you don't really know the answer. It's one of those movies where it's over and you don't really know, and you're thinking about it and you still don't know, and you're waiting for somebody to tell you. It's like The Sopranos. Remember the end scene went black. Did Tony get killed? Did the family get taken out? We don't know what happened. This movie, The Gift, that just came out on the Red Box, it's got one of those endings. I'd love for you guys, check out this movie. It's worth watching. I'm a big fan of the thriller. I love the suspenseful thriller. I love that. I love, like movies like Fatal Attraction, in that genre. I love those kind of movies because there's suspense involved. not horror, not blood and guts, not somebody getting their head chopped off. It's real suspense. And I love those kind of movies. Check it out. Let me know what you think about The Finish. Because I'd love to debate. I'm going to ask Jeff to watch this movie. I want to know what you guys thought about The Finish. Okay, enough about that. I'm going to get to your questions now. There were a lot of good questions today. I want to answer them. I'm going to put you over by name. Uncle Put said, who was the most overrated musical group or act of the rock era and why? God, that is an interesting question. Overrated. When you say overrated, there are some bands that I just did not like, and I didn't like anything about them. One of the bands at the top of my list that I'm going to put out there, and people say I'm crazy, but I don't like them. I don't like the sound. I think everything sounded the same, and I think they were overrated. The band for me is, Steely Dan. And if you know Steely Dan, I'm sure you're familiar. They had a lot of hits. They were over, but I never liked the band. I think it's a very, very overrated band. And of course, with me, these bands that come out that have replaced their lead singers, and people still pay money to go see them because they don't realize it's not the same lead singer. I hate those bands. I absolutely hate those bands. Journey is at the top of that list with that little Filipino guy who's no Steve Perry. Dennis DeYoung, the guy who sings Sail Away Now for Styx. I don't know his name. I don't care to know his name. He's a total knucklehead. And then, of course, you got Foreigner. Lou Gramm no longer, lead singer for Foreigner. I hate that. That's the biggest pet peeve of mine. But Uncle Putz, if you want to know the most overrated musical group, I would have to say Steely Dan. Michael Coles, not Michael Cole. I don't think Michael Cole would write into the show. Michael Coles asks, was it true you wrote months of TV for the WWE so you were ahead of the curve? Absolutely not, Michael Coles. TV was never written that way when I was involved in the television writing. And I've said this before, so I don't want to go on, too long. We went from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. So if we had a pay-per-view, we more or less knew what the next pay-per-view was that we were working towards. We knew what the card was. So those 4 weeks in between were written week by week by week by week. Why? Because we wanted to have our pulse on the fan. We wanted to know what was working and what wasn't working and be able to adjust to that on a weekly basis. So the shows were fresh. We wrote the show week to week to week. And if you don't believe me, anybody could ask Ed Ferrara. That's not done today. I don't believe they're listening to the fans, which is a huge problem I have. I don't think they're using the ratings as a measuring stick. But no, we did not write televisions a week in advance. JD says, do you think we could see another boom period in this social networking age if WWE did the right things? Yeah, absolutely. I think we could see a boom period if the WWE did the right things. Listen, again, I'm not, it has nothing to do with my opinion. I'm looking strictly at facts and ratings and numbers. Obviously, they're not doing the right thing now. I saw last night the rating was down, the lowest viewers since the show went to 3 hours. In not this past July, last July. I looked at last year's show. They lost 800,000 viewers from last year to this year. 800,000. So, yes, if they can fix it. If you're asking me if they can fix it, yes, they can absolutely fix it. I think the name is Still, STIL. How long do you think it will be before attendance at WE shows are affected by the crappy storyline? Attendance is already being affected. Outside of Raw, outside of, the big shows, the WrestleManias, the SummerSlams, and probably I'll throw the pay-per-views in that bunch. But house shows are not drawing. I mean, Jeff Lane comes on here a lot of times with house show numbers. And I mean, there are a lot of times, WWE is drawing like 2,000, 3,000 people tops. So it has already affected and trickled down the house show attendance. That there's no question about this. Isaac Rahman, a good Raymond, right? Isaac, I'm sorry, I might be mispronouncing your name, but I love you, Isaac. You're a big supporter, and I always see it. Thank you very much. Okay, great, Isaac. Thanks for the question. An update on the iHeartRadio deal. Will Ham and Egg is Preferred be making a comeback soon? Thank you for asking, Isaac. I had a conversation with iHeartRadio last week. They loved the audition. It looks like I passed the audition. They loved what I did. They thought it was unique. It seems like a lot of things are changing at the station now, and it looks like they're trying to create a hole for me. Hopefully by around this time next week, I will know a little bit more. I was told, to call back in a couple of weeks. He's just got to switch some things around. So that's what's going on. I'm sitting by, Isaac, and I'm waiting patiently because I would love to do that. I would love to DJ on an FM radio. I love music. I love talking to people. It would be incredible for me to always, be speaking to entertainers and musicians. Say a prayer for me out there, but it's still going along, and I always say, listen, man, it's on God's time. It's not my time. Of course, it's taking a little longer than I'd hoped, but it's moving along. I'll keep you posted. WWE reimagined.com. WWE is clearly lacking in creative presentation and innovation. Why aren't they clearing the slate for the new generation? WWE reimagined. I think they are clearing the slate for the new generation. Look at how many guys have gone over from NXT. There are a lot of young talent on that roster. There's definitely more young talent than there is older talent. I think they have cleared the way for the new generation. The problem is that they're not getting them over. They're not doing the right things to get them over. I talked about this to nauseam. I don't want to talk about it again here, but there has been a lot of young talent being infused into the WWE. They're just not getting them over. Luke Lampy says, we all know about the drug problems wrestlers had in that era. Was there ever drug problems with backstage personnel? Luke, that is an interesting question. Nobody has asked me that before, and the answer is yes. There were drug issues with backstage personnel, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to mention names here, obviously, but a lot of those issues that I dealt with were agents who were former wrestlers. So a lot of them had issues and problems while they were wrestling. When they made the transition to being office and working as agents, a lot of those issues and problems were still there. I will tell you this. I dealt with those issues from personnel, mainly while I was at TNA. But like I said, who it was, that's not important. That's not what I do here, and you know that. But yes, Luke, I'd be lying to you if I said no. All right, everybody, that's it. I think that's it for now. Again, I just want to remind you, if you haven't renewed your subscription, please do. I know it's tough. That's why, like I said, I like auto renewal. When something expires, I don't remember right away. I get to it when I get to it. But remember, we depend on your subscriptions in order to go on here, with thebrand.com. So again, if you haven't renewed, please do. Like I said, you don't want to miss the 2-part China interview, which starts on Monday. Well, that's it for this edition of Bucket Next, everybody. We talked about a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. And, one more thing. I forgot to answer Isaac's questions about the Ham and Eggers. Will that be making a comeback? Basically, Ham and Eggers Preferred, Isaac, has more or less turned into Nuclear Heat, which you can see on WrestlingInc.com on Thursday afternoon, on Thursday nights usually. Also on WrestlingInc.com, I review the Raw show when it's over. I really need your support at WrestlingInc.com. I really need you to follow me and see what I do there. That helps my relationship with that. And I'll be honest with you, the brand doesn't pay the bills alone at this point, so I need to make income elsewhere. That's why I do some work with Wrestling Inc. So that's why that support is just as important as the support of the brand. So anyway, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you all on the weekend.
Pro Wrestling's history class is now in session with Back to the Territories. Join host Jim Cornette and J.J. Dillon as they explore Mid-Atlantic wrestling.
Sitting there with his hands like this was Jim Crockett Sr.
3.5 hours of wrestling history told through rare memorabilia and exclusive footage.
Nothing topped Wahoo McDaniel and Johnny Valentine.
Featuring over an hour of lost Mid-Atlantic film footage from Jim Cornette's collection.
The kid from Minnesota, it was going to be something, Ric Flair.
Head back to Mid-Atlantic Wrestling at shootinterviews.com.